Hey, what's happening? In this video, we're gonna create a link shortener service. This link shortener service is gonna take in a long URL via an API request, and then it's gonna return a short URL that you're gonna give to your users. And when they click on that short URL, it's gonna take them back to the long URL. You know what a link shortener is, just like tinyUrl. I came up with this idea because I was working on an app that uses QR, and my links were too long for the QR, so the QR looked messy, so I had to come up with this solution. Okay, so how are we gonna create this? We're gonna be using the following tools. We're gonna be using ReactJS to make the website that will do the redirection. We're gonna be using Firebase Firestore database to just store the long URLs and generate the identifiers for them. And then we're going to use Express.js to create the endpoint that's going to be taking the API calls to, make the short URLs. And the way everything here is going to be organized, it's going to look like this. So you're the user, you're all the way here on the left, Express.js and Firebase. So first, when you create the new URL, you're going to submit the long URL by an API request to your Express.js endpoint, which is going to then talk to the database. In step 2, store the long URL. Then it's going to return an identifier that you're going to take, and then the endpoint is going to take that short identifier and append it to your website URL and returns it to you. Like in step number 4, something like this example over here, if you can see it. So that's how you create the URL, the short URL. How to use it, look here between step 5 and 8. When you click on the short URL, it's your ReactJS website is gonna take that identifier, like here again, and talk to the database, get the long URL, and then redirect you to that long URL as in step number 8. So this is the setup, which means I'm gonna be coding two things. I'm going to be coding a website that's going to do the redirection, and I'm going to be coding an endpoint that takes API requests to create the short URLs. So let me first show you the website that I have. This is the code for my website. It does nothing. I'll run it. Yarn start. And this is what it looks like. Okay, it doesn't do anything. It just prints out. The page opened when you open it. So we're gonna make this website when it takes an identifier here in the URL. It takes that identifier and then get the long URL. Okay, another thing I want to show you. This is my database. Over here I have one long URL stored. It's just a random Stack Overflow link, and the identifier for it is test in all capitals. So now what we want to achieve is that when I do my website /test in the URL, it should redirect me to that Stack Overflow link. So let's implement that in our website. Back to the code. In the code, I have this method that gets called whenever the my website gets loaded. Right now it just prints this to the console. I'm gonna make it get that identifier from the URL, so that whatever here is in the URL, I'm gonna get this right here, the test. I want to get it. So this is how I'm gonna do it. First I'm gonna get the URL. Get this by using window location.href. Then I'll print this out. URL, refresh the page. Take a look at this. The URL is being returned in the console. Now I want to get test. How I'm gonna get that? I need to split this URL by the slash. To do that, I'll just do let equal URL dot split it by what? Split it by the slash. Now if I print the URL components, I'm getting an array here. I want to get this last item in the array. How do I do that? For that, I'm just gonna let short ID equals URL components, just pop that array and then print it out. Now let's see what we get in the console. I'm getting test. Cool. Now I'm gonna have this website take that test, talk to Firebase, and then get the long URL and then redirect to it. But first let's get the long URL. To do that, in Firebase, I'll just Firebase Firestore. My collection is called links doc. Which doc? The identifier for that doc is gonna be that test, the short ID. So I'm just gonna put this here. Then get the document. And let's handle that return value. And let's handle that error because we're professionals. Yes. Okay. Console, just if there's an error, just print out that error. Let's see. Just print out that error. Okay. Cool. Here, let long URL equal the doc. Get the data for the document, and then get the URL, which is this one. Where is it? This one. Get this URL here. So this is what's happening. Now I'm gonna print that out. See what we get. Are we getting the long URL? Maybe. Refresh. Take a look. In the console, you see I'm getting the long URL. But that's not enough. I want to redirect to it. Let's make it redirect to that URL. Cool? So here, to redirect to the URL, all you gotta do is just do get the window, get location, get the href, then just make it equal to long URL. Or you could just do it the cleaner way and just use replace. Now you can see when I go there, when I go to this URL, localhost 3000/test, it redirects me to this Stack Overflow URL. So it worked. Cool. Nice. So we just made the website that takes in the short identifier and then talk to the database and then redirect to the long URL returned from the database, just like this, which is very cool. Okay, and very simple to implement. Again, just so you can see, localhost/test talks to the database, redirects you. Just so it goes over here and gets its URL and then redirects you to it. Pretty cool. Okay, so that was pretty easy. Now that part is done, we created the website. Now we're gonna move on to making the endpoint that's actually gonna generate the short URLs. It's gonna take the long URL, store it here in the database, and then it's gonna give you back the short URL that you could use. So let's do that. What I just implemented was step 5, 6, 7, 8. Now I'm gonna implement step number 1, 2, 3, 4. So let's code it. Let's see how that looks like. Back to the code. So this is my Express.js endpoint. It's just a basic endpoint. Let's test it out. And to do that, I'm just gonna make it return just a basic response, like response.send. I'm just gonna make it say hi. Then I'll run it just to make sure this thing works. There you go. It returns hi. Now I wanted to do more. First, when you're changing something on the server, you don't use get. You usually use post. And if you're using post in Express.js, you want to change this to post, and you want to add app.use. You want to use express.json, I believe. Right. Okay. So now let's try this again. But instead of a get, let's try with a post. So yarn start and post. Still works. Nice. Now I wanted to take an input, a JSON input. So here my input is going to be, of course, long URL, and I'm going to put some long URL here. I'm going to use this random Stack Overflow page as an input, and then I want to return this in the response. And to do that, here, instead of sending hi, I will just be sending let's say long URL, and my response is going to be request, which is the request that I just sent, body, and long URL. Now let's refresh, test this out, start. There we go, works. Returns the same URL that I sent. Now I'm gonna make it actually create a new short URL. To do that, I'm gonna talk to Firebase. Hey Firebase. Oh sorry, I'll use admin. Firestore, collection, links, and then I'm gonna create a new document with an identifier that I set. So to do that, I'm actually gonna specify an identifier for my URL. So let's just call it ID. I'll make it custom, so you can set it to any identifier you want. So in this case, my identifier is gonna be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5. You know, just like a random number or alphanumerical string. And I will take that and I will use that as my document identifier. And I'm gonna set it. Setting, just saying what is the data that I want to put in here, and for that, just gonna be the long URL. So the long URL that I supplied in request is gonna go here, and then once that is done, then I'm just gonna respond back to the user saying, this is your long URL, this is the ID you just used, just to give the user everything. It's a good practice when you're creating an API to return everything that the user gave you, you know, at least in my opinion. And then the short URL is gonna be your domain name, which is, in my case, guys, I'm using Firebase hosting. So the domain that I'm going to be using is my Firebase hosting domain, which is here actually. I'm going to be using this domain for my link shortener, nomoff/code, nomoff, you know, this one, whatever. So I'm going to put it here, / plus the idea that I used. So the ID is going to be what's used in that URL. Okay, so I'll send this response. I'll add the long URL in the database, and then I'll send the response the short URL. Of course, it's good to add the HTTPS to make it a fully qualified domain name. And now let's rerun this and test it out. See if this thing actually works, or if it embarrasses me and I'll have to record this video for the 1,000th time. Okay, cool. ID, now request sent, URL created. Nice. Now if I check my database here, the document should be added. There we go, long URL here. Now if I take in this number, where is it? If I take in this number here and I put it in localhost, it should work too. It should redirect me. So let's try that out. Yarn start. Let's rerun the website that we created before. Run it through different ports just to move things up, and I'll call localhost / that number. Bro. I messed up. I stored it as long URL where it should be URL. God damn it. Okay, let's do this thing. Let's fix it. So to do that, go back to the endpoint, and instead of saying sending it as long URL, you send it as URL. Okay, and rerun this thing again. I'm so annoyed, dude. And we can just call this again. Cool. Now let's try it. There you go. Now it's working. Now it redirects. So this is awesome. We created the endpoint successfully, and we created the website successfully. Now we just gotta deploy the website and use it. So now I'm building my website over here. I'll call this deploy. Okay, and then inside my directory, inside my website, I create a new page. I create a new directory called deploy, and here I'm gonna initiate my Firebase project and set it to hosting. Select this, and then I'll use an existing project. I'm using Nawaf's -code. What do you want? Single app? No. Actually, yes. No. Okay, cool. Now over here, all I need to do is just move my move the website that I built inside the public directory here, and then we'll be good to go. So here, what it looks like, I'll just take the stuff here inside build, copy it, go to deploy, go to public, remove this, replace it with this, and now that it's ready, I can just go to my terminal and do Firebase deploy. Okay, the website has been deployed. Now let's try the website with the old link, that we used, the short link that we generated previously. So here in the API request, let's just try clicking on this, see what happens. So it takes me and then redirects. Perfect. Now let's create another short URL. I don't know, I want to just use some random page. I'll just Google some random page. There you go. Let's take this long article over here, and I'll put it here, and then I'll just make it a very short URL. It says 1, 2, 3 send. Oopsie, I guess I gotta redeploy my endpoint. My bad. So here, okay, let's try this again. There you go, I got my short URL, and when I click on it, it takes me to this, that article again. So this thing worked. Now I'm running my endpoint from localhost here. If I want to, I can deploy it to my server. I can deploy it to Firebase functions, or I can deploy it to, I don't know, my GoDaddy server, anywhere. But the point is now you have an endpoint that can take in a long URL. You set the identifier, it gives you a short URL, which is here, and then when you click on that, it will redirect to that page, to that long URL. So this is actually very easy. You need to pay a website to do to shorten URLs for you. You can just make your own. Thanks for watching. I hope this was useful. If it's not, still like anyway for the effort. And see you next time.